Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm expecting to get some insights from people who actually work in this finance sector, meeting new people.
To communicate with the best of the best in the business world.
Just to better understand what's happening at the moment.
I want to network with people in London and hopefully gain some experience and good contacts.
I would like to welcome you to the first London Economics Symposium here at Millbank Centre, a fantastic venue. The idea of today is not only to discuss one of the most pressing economic issues in the world, the road to recovery from the economic crisis, but also to give the students the opportunity to interact personally with leaders with prominence in their fields.
Let's start off with Europe today. This crisis is by far not over. One of the byproducts of the crisis that we in the financial services sector have to deal with is the image of our industry. Bankers, in some cases, have been what I call autistic to society, not listening to what society is saying and not making the adjustments in their organizations quick enough. That's changed very substantially, and happily one sees positive momentum.
What we do as a global law firm is that we provide services to clients who are doing complex cross-border transactions or trying to sort out complex cross-border messes that they've got into in one way or another.
I want to ask what are some of the problems but what are also some of the benefits of English common law in terms of contracting compared to other jurisdictions?
Maybe my question is to Mr. Booth. I'm curious, when you were talking about the important role of regulation, what is your view about it? Are you welcoming it? Do you think that it will help insurance industry to be better regulated? Thank you.
Yeah.
How do you see the effect of the financial crisis on the energy sector, and specifically returning to fossil fuels as opposed to renewables? And how longer do we have to make do with the dirty environment that we are making? Thank you.
I'm Simon Halliday. I'm a lecturer of several of these students at Royal Holloway in economics. Now, one of the things I was wondering about, like, what kinds of professional services are being engaged by sovereigns engaging with private firms internationally, and what kinds of opportunities are there for the students here? Thank you.
In terms of strengthening the core, how do you look at this? You simplify, you standardize, you consolidate and automate. It's not rocket science, but it's an enormous challenge when you look at the globalization of industry and our customers. Investing in new paths to growth, this will support innovation, how to capture new markets, look out for signals, who's developing analytics, look at the contribution IT can make to the processes. IT-led innovation will dominate going forward to a certain extent.
The basis for every crisis, financial crisis as well, for this financial crisis, have been wrong credit decisions. Big scale, small scale, that is the basis of all the crisis.
Yeah? It has to do with responsibility, and then it comes back to incentivation systems and how are people incentivized and what makes them tick. And we get into the bonus culture. We get into all kinds of things.
Well, this is the agency problem that, again, we'll be discussing this.
The agency problem,
managers against owners, which is going to be a big theme.
And we get into the climate of times. Yeah, what is considered to be successful in the environment? It changes over time.
But the development, what we've done over that really since 2008 and even probably before, is the source of funding that we've gotten and obtained has dramatically changed.
We have in Germany observed in a different sector, in the banking sector, what harm can be done if you have artificially low interest rates and low funding in the so-called Landesbanken sector. Terrible. Because their banks have been able to refinance themselves on the back of the German taxpayer with artificially and not risk-adjusted funding rates. And the same situation is a bit true right now for the corporate sector. You always seem to kind of make nice returns, but you do those for the wrong reasons on the basis of too low capital costs, and therefore you kind of do wrong entrepreneurial and wrong management decisions. And sometime the empire will strike back, and then you have got the next bubble and the next crisis coming.
This is an event that is encouraging students to think about the wider world. What's going on outside of their academic studies, what influences are shaping the world.
It's excellent, has been great, great attendance, nice people, good questions. The food I haven't yet experienced, but I've heard that there's a lot of effort has gone into the organization, and I congratulate all the initiatives for kind of making this conference a success.
What do we have to transfer and offer after years in the business is our experience. The people coming into the labour market today, to share with them our experiences, the things where we've made mistakes or we've seen mistakes made, the strategies we've seen working. Sharing this with the leaders of tomorrow is vitally important.
Now have most of the delegates back in the room, and so welcome to the afternoon of the London Economics Symposium.
Before I get started, can I see a show of hands? Has anyone heard of behavioral finance or behavioral economics? Wow, so this is really, have you heard of it before you looked at the program for this talk and thought, what in the world is that? Few last, maybe just a few hands, okay. You know, there's something about this field that I'd say is a bit recession-proof, because the more markets start to go crazy, the more market uncertainty there is, the more markets start to fall, that's when my group becomes busier and busier. And that's when people turn to psychological explanations for why there are these overreactions in the market, why there's this irrational exuberance followed by extreme periods of panic.
So it's obviously, certainly since 2008, been quite a busy time for the concepts of corporate culture and corporate behaviour, with the subprime crisis, mis-selling in the UK of financial products, wiretap, wire stripping, money laundering, tax evasion. To what degree do we think that regulation is important, necessary, and should become more stringent than it is today?
If you take the belief in the efficiency and transparency of markets, this sometimes maybe was abused, or at least it was believed in as a concept that accordingly the markets were working relatively unfettered. That can be built back, and regulation can take care of that. Appropriate pricing of credit risk, for example, to be more specific, to some extent that can be taken care of by regulation. However, if you take the softer part of what led to the crisis, herd behavior, for example, people thinking that if they do the same like someone else, that ethical standards are not so relevant because everybody does it. Can you handle that by regulation? Not really.
I think there is a role for regulation. I've worked with some industries that probably would have had the chance to come to the regulator with solutions that say, you know, let's work together and come with our own solutions so we don't have to just react to regulation, but they didn't do it. So I think from both sides, both from industry and from regulators, to see more engagement and joint kind of cooperation to come up with what will work best.
The ECB and the Fed are working really hard to get the economy growing again. But I also agree with Jov that there's this tendency to over-regulate when we're in a bad state, whereas if everything goes great, no one really cares about regulation, and this cyclicality of regulation is not good.
We have experienced the loosest monetary policy in all of our lifetimes. Unprecedentedly loose monetary policy. So in many ways, we as the Western world have been driving our capitalist car with one foot fully on the accelerator, with all our quantitative easing, and at the same time with the other foot, the money multiplier depression, fully on the brake. Is that going to end in tears? Is that going to work well? Well, we don't know. And the likelihood is that this is just another cycle. Thank you.
I really enjoyed the conference. It was really interesting to see the different perspectives from different industry leaders.
I particularly really liked the part on behavioral finance because that's something I study, and I thought the way it was brought across by the speaker was amazing.
This is a great event to have organized. You got very high quality speakers here. So I think overall this is a big success and everybody should be proud of themselves.
I've been to really many conferences, both organized by students and also organized by banks, and I must say that the organization of this conference was highly professional and one of the best I have ever attended.
2 years ago actually, we met at university, just friends with similar interests, and we thought we have to make ourselves more competitive in this really harsh job market. So we thought, what is better than to found, for example, an investment club. We then developed into an event organizing team. We started off with Barclays Wealth on our campus, which became our main sponsor. Then we also invited over Marcus Scripps and Russ Mould, and both of them actually attended today as well, which shows that it's a really good way of building relationships with professionals.
It was a first-time event. It was very difficult, therefore, to have persuaded such reputable companies to want to even become a part of this event, in the terms that they obviously put their reputation, their brand at risk, so they had to place a lot of faith in us.
My role was head of program, which meant I had to organize everything to the smallest detail and make sure everyone of the committee knew exactly what they had to do, think of every possible scenario and make sure that I had a contingency plan in place.
For me, the best benefits of taking part in this symposium was obviously be able to take a part in teamwork, which is very important nowadays if you apply for a job.
Well, my function within the London Economics Symposium was to be head of public relations, so that included trying to find as many students from as many different backgrounds as possible. We had people from America, from Germany, from Austria, well, naturally from the UK and so forth, but more importantly from a wide variety of countries from Europe.
Is there any message you'll have for students out there for their future career paths, how to should pursuing their dreams?
I would say don't focus too much too early. Stay broad and stay curious, test things, because most of you today are so young when you finish your bachelor. There's a lot of time left for you to also go into uncharted waters and find the one thing that you really like to do, and then you will certainly excel.